seemed like it was far away at the beginning, like it wouldn't actually affect us.
Straight away after Christmas, you could see that things were sort of starting to lock down. We were starting to get more restrictions into place.
You remember the Monday evening, and we had a broadcast on TV, and everything shut down. It was pretty intense, really.
Like, I heard in the news how many people were being hospitalized.
I really didn't believe it. I was kind of like, okay, I'll be able to get groceries in a week or 2 weeks.
They were closing borders by late March. This was becoming a big issue, not just in parts of the world, but everywhere in the world.
My girls are highly involved in dance, and there was a dance convention in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. The day that we left, the president announced the state of emergency. When they shut down the cruise ship in California, that was whenever I was telling the people that were close to me it was going to affect everyone.
In March, we started getting calls from clients that we'd been working with, and they said, we're developing a COVID vaccine. We need to talk about supply of material. And that's when it really began to hit that this was turning into a pandemic and a critical health emergency.
I got to work, and my supervisor at the time was Dale Smith, and he told me that we had received an order for 20 kilograms of one of the compounds that I had made for the ALC 315.
We were really the first to commercially develop this. Each one of these individual lipids that go into the lipid sheath or the delivery mechanism for the vaccine were essentially commercialized at Avanti.
When the initial client contacted us in April, it was volumes that we could handle at Avanti. Then they brought in another partner, and it became obvious that we were not going to be able to satisfy the capacities that they were going to require. So that's when we started looking for a partner. And we had already met the folks from Croda. We had known them for several years. So we reached out to them. We figured these guys are going to have the capacity. They're going to have the knowledge of working with lipids.
They had 4 ingredients that they needed to scale up. 3 of those ingredients were made at the Avanti factory in the US, and they could scale those up. But the other one, which was a significant ingredient as well, could not be scaled up. But then Croda acquired Avanti, and that single ingredient we could make at one of our UK factories very quickly.
So when the request first came in, it was quite a substantial amount of work to do, but we clearly made it a priority here on site. So we took quite a number of our team, made it their only priority, said, look, work on this and only this. We put people onto shifts. They were working longer hours around the clock, trying to, find a different way to manufacture this and try to find a way to produce the amount of kilos that we needed to make it work on the commercial scale.
Obviously, we couldn't cut any corners, so we still had to get all the regulatory things done, all the rubber stamps and everything. So my team were on a rota, basically, doing 12-hour shifts to try and get the work done.
They were able to start ramping up one of those components and take that burden off of Avanti. Once we got that transferred, then we started working on building up the production capacity for the other components. I had no question that our team was making the absolute very best lipids that could be used in the vaccine.
We added people, we added equipment, we added expertise.
We were called up and asked if we'd like to take part in any vaccine production.
Like in the middle of my Monday, just getting a call out of the blue, going, if we asked you to go to Alabama for 5 months, would you say yes?
They told us, you're moving down to Alabama for the next 4 to 5 months, helping manufacture part of the vaccine.
It was scary to come out here, definitely, but just thinking of all the good that it could do, I was well up for it, yeah.
When else in life would you get asked to do that? So, yeah, without hesitation, it was like a yeah, I'll go.
The operational content of bringing all this online in the middle of COVID, it was just so much.
Normally, when you're looking for approval of a product, it takes months to years to get there. And so when I learned the pace at which they were trying to go, at first I thought, impossible.
Avanti made the impossible possible, basically. So we worked so hard to meet the goals. Some days it was exhausted, but we knew what we were doing and the reason why we were doing.
We just go in every day and try to get our job done to the best of our ability.
And our boss always tells us, it's difficult to be a superhero. Like, okay, we are saving the world. Let's keep doing it.
The teams have come together in a pandemic when it's difficult anyway, and showing what we're capable of when we work well as a team.
I cannot say enough about the Avanti personnel. They have always risen to the occasion.
Across the organization, everyone has pulled together to make this a success.
It's a combination of their deep knowledge of drug delivery and Croda's great knowledge of operational scale-up and commercial scale-up. And those two together have been an ideal partnership.
Clearly, obviously, over the last year, we've developed this process, this novel lipid, and we've taken it from the lab scale up to production. We've been able to do it on a short time scale. So it kind of sort of shows how quick we can go from sort of a concept to putting it into production, to getting it to the people and improving people's lives.
When we first started making the product on plant and we put the first batch through, we got the results from Avanti that it was in spec and it was actually going out the door. It sort of hit home that this is actually leaving our site and it's going to end up in the vaccine. That's a massive amount of satisfaction for us because we worked so hard on it.
Our mom always explained, we are healers, not harmers. So in everything we do, try to make sure that someone's either benefiting from it or healing from it.
It really struck home with me that we were doing something tangible when my parents, who were not even connected with this, were getting the vaccine. And the amazing thing, I was talking to some of our colleagues in the UK, and they were getting their elderly sister or brother or spouse were getting the vaccine too.
Before we came out, them quoting these figures about if you go out, we can make an extra batch of ingredient and then that can save X million number of lives. And it was just crazy, the scale. And so then, telling my friends and family that I was gonna go to Alabama and do all of this and what it's doing. Everyone's super proud at home.
My niece received the vaccine. I'm sorry. So for me, it was a really important time because it was the first time in my whole life that someone received a product that I was directly working on it.
What we do every day at work impacts the world, and I don't know very many people that can say that.
It's been the culmination of a lifelong career to know that lipids are the answer to a number of problems and be an integral part of something that had a global impact is extremely satisfying. I could not have asked for anything better.
The technology is a great one for the future with other, drug technologies, other vaccines. So all the hard work, hopefully will get us one step forward towards getting away from the pandemic, away from lockdowns and away from this disease. But for the future, hopefully it'll bring us another tool in our armoury to prevent this happening in the future.
It's something that I will never forget. When I went to get my shot, they had this department store that they had basically gutted. There were so many voices in there, so much noise. When I walked in the door and heard all of that sound, it became more than the liquid stirring in the flask. It became more than the number on a screen. It became affecting people's lives. And then going and sitting down, waiting your 15 minutes with the big clock on the wall. You see people checking their phones, having conversations and whatever else, and I actually made a point to turn my phone off and put it in my pocket, and I just sat there and looked around and just listened, because I knew that that particular moment likely would never happen to me again. It's very rare that you ever get to see the impact of your work, changing people's lives, giving people comfort, allowing them to not have to live in fear anymore, allowing them to be able to get back into their daily life and their daily routine. This is the real impact that we're having. This is the reason why I have the late nights and why we have the heated discussions at work about what's the best way to do this or what's the best way to do that. It's because we're all trying to do it right, because we know what type of impact it's going to have.